Greetings, my dearest beloved friends. As I promised in my last video, we are going to explore the area of interpersonal communications where we can truly love without pain and live without unnecessary sufferings caused by all kinds of miscommunication issues, which are the primary source of all kinds of conflicts, wars, and sufferings in the world. We all agree that all military and violent activities on Earth originated from some sort of mental and emotional imbalance. And the primary cause of it is inability of people to communicate effectively. And this is also the reason why we can't go straight into our topic of alchemical spark of creation level of communications, which is far beyond well-known four levels: dependence, codependence, independence, and interdependence. Because some of us are still trapped in codependence relationships, and some of us make their first steps in exploring independence. As many of us, including myself, came from all kinds of religions or Eastern style ashram cultures where people are expected to follow spiritual leaders, which they call their gurus. And when some of us came across Almine's work, we started to project into Almine our own backgrounds and our own expectations based on those backgrounds. Some of us wanted to make out of her another religious god or an Eastern guru, which is clearly establishment of dependent, codependent relationships with Almin, in their own imagination, of course. There was a situation before at some of the retreats when someone who was an adept of some Eastern guru tried to create a guru worship ritual for Almin. And those things are absolutely understandable. It takes time and effort from our part to completely get rid of our old baggage. Everyone processes their things at their own comfortable pace, and there's no rush at all. At the beginning of her public work, Almin clearly defined her objectives. She is not a religious god, she is not a guru, she's an advanced life coach and information provider for those who want to learn how to rise up in their own mastery and personal power. This is her life mission, in her own words. It's not my intent to tell you what I can do. My intent is to show you what you can become. My greatest wish is for you to stand on my shoulders and fly. Also, another important quote from the same book, Almin's book, A Life of Miracles. In 1997, when I first started publicly teaching, a young woman stood at the closing of the New Mexico seminar and said, "I've seen my inner power this weekend, and I'll never give it away again." And then Almin says, that sums up the entire reason why I'm teaching. So as we see, it's not about being religious or following a guru. We are your shoulders. Stand on them. Get in touch with your infinite power and fly as high as you want. It's not about shoulders. It's about you. And you only. It's about your flight of freedom. And now you fly, and now you no longer need shoulders. And we, as Almin's Russian office, and our international network are here for you. We are here to be responsible for all necessary logistics to keep up with Almine's life mission, to be your shoulders, your information providers, to make sure that you are equipped with all necessary information and resources for your successful, masterful flight. So as you see, it's all about you and about you only. By the way, tomorrow, live, and it will also be available in recorded version, we offer you a practical intensive that provides for you a practical experience of your self-sovereignty and personal power. An extension of Almin's shoulders for you to stand on and then to fly. More detailed information is in the description to this video. Almine in Russia, starting from her first historical seminar in Moscow in November 2012, clearly stated her life mission for her work in Russia and Russian-speaking world, training us for reigning and schooling us for ruling, to help us see our infinite power, our infinite potential, and to be self-referencing for approval, and to consciously create our own truths. Another very important quote from Almin's Life of Miracles book. Indeed, a master creates truth. Therefore, the goal is not to seek truth, but to create it consciously. And the central truth that Almin taught in Russia was that our being is our sustenance. And all information and tools provided by Almin's Russian web store are dedicated to remind us about those keys of our personal self-sovereign mastery. Key number one, you have an infinite personal power. We don't seek power. We realize that we own it, and it's pointless to seek something that we already possess. And key number two, create your own truths. We are not truth seekers. We are truth creators, creators of our own selves and our own realities. And there are some things that may stand in our way in this process. Today, we are going to start our exploration of the Spark of Creation communication system. And we'll continue in our next video in 2 weeks. In order to fully enter into this level of communications, we need to do some house cleaning. We need to make sure that our space is uncluttered and nothing stands in our way. First of all, in order to experience the spark of creation in our daily communications and activities, we need to make sure that we live in the light of truth. On practical level, it means open, honest, transparent communications and lifestyle. Almin made us aware of possibility of completely exiting illusion of duality and separation and creating unified space instead of two divided inner and outer spaces, which can exist separately only within the specific mindset that creates illusory realities, a mindset that tends to separate and divide. And the primary illusion is a supposed possibility of existence separately from the source of our life. And you are your own source of your own life. And the only way out of this trap of illusory existence is to start living according to the principle as within, so without. Actually, also vice versa. It's a total absence of even a shadow of potential for living a double life, for creating a facade in the outer space that contradicts the reality of our inner life. So your public life is no different than your private life. If you live in the reality of oneness, which is the reality of your infinite power and boundless possibilities, you don't have even a shadow of potential for expressing untruth, supposedly for the sake of your own personal benefit. By the way, it's impossible to achieve true personal benefits by untruth. Living in integrity feels absolutely great. First of all, it's living fear-free. You don't have to be afraid to be exposed because you have nothing to hide. For example, I have a friend in Moscow who works in the area of telecommunications, and he told me, he made some research on my communication devices, and he told me that my communication devices, my iPhone, computers, are under surveillance by a federal security agency. And he offered me some of the options of blocking their monitoring. I told him that I really don't need it because it's absolutely okay with me, because there's nothing in my life that I need to hide from the authorities, Russian, American, whatever country, because my activities don't contain anything harmful or subversive that may cause any issues for the countries and governments of the world. Our company, Mutrast Almine LLC, is in a good standing with the government and the tax office. Please don't believe propaganda from some of our light family that supposedly Almine dissolved for a Russian organization. Today is the 19th of April, year 2025, and Almine is still an owner of a Russian publishing company, an online store, Mudrost Almine LLC. I checked it just a few hours ago. Everything is as it was from the time it was registered in July 2012. Almine is an owner and a majority shareholder of a Russian office, a Russia-based Mudrost Almine limited liability company. Some people choose a path of lies and deception while depending on Almine's power sigils to save them. I'm aware of so-called dark NLP, dark psychology, which says that it's okay to lie and to deceive for the sake of the noble goals. They actually study the principles of a Nazi fascism. The famous statement by Nazi propaganda minister Paul Joseph Goebbels that if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. And some of his other quotes. If you tell a lie, tell a big one. Arguments must therefore be crude, clear, and forcible, and appeal to emotions and instincts, not the intellect. Truth was unimportant and entirely subordinate to tactics and psychology. The end of the quote. So people that operate according to these principles may sincerely think that they will make them successful, but it would be beneficial for them to remind themselves about the details of the end of the Nazi regime in 1945. This is a so-called success that those methods can bring. So those schools of business are really serious about their fantasies that lies, dark manipulation, and dictatorial style of leadership would supposedly make someone truly successful. But their ultimate peak of success is only successfully committing suicide, like Adolf Hitler. And the best case scenario is death sentence at Nuremberg trials. This is a typical end of those who practice dark psychology based on Goebbels' propaganda methods, unless they change their mind. And it's not too late to change our minds while we are still alive. But first of all, if they still practice Nazi methods, there is no possibility for them to exit the illusion of separation, which is a primary source of all human sufferings. And the only way out is to start consciously living a life of integrity. All sorts of dark life coaching offered to get rid of fear of man, to obtain self-confidence and success consciousness, and also those dark operators teach about necessity of learning how to use firearms and all kinds of violence as the means to their goals. Unfortunately, a lot of those kinds of training centers exist all over the world, live and online. So if we claim to be Almine students and promoters of our work, and if we still use Goebbels' propaganda methods, along with dark psychology, verbal abuse and violence, even for the noblest of the noblest purpose of promoting and protecting Almine's work, then we really protect and promote illusion of separation instead of Almine's work. A bitter truth is better than sweet lies. And if you hear something pleasant to your ears, it's rather lies than truth. Truth is unpleasant. So, if you want to see examples of Goebbels' propaganda methods in action, you can revisit all posts dedicated to Almine's Russian office at Somewhere Light Family's website. I don't want to mention names here because I still want to believe that it's all a matter of misunderstanding and miscommunication. And I still want to believe that we all, without exception, have the best intentions no matter what, and we will eventually reach a complete resolution of that issue. We must admit that those methods really work to some degree for some groups of people. Repeated lies eventually become someone's highest, or rather not so highest, truth. So may I ask you again, my brothers and sisters from the other side, maybe it's better to speak only truth to one another. If someone is afraid to lose their income if Almin's Russian office still operates, so maybe the reason is not Almin's Russian office, but your refusal to accept your being as your sustenance, which is the foundation of all Almin's teachings, by the way. And they need to stop believing the internet's dark coaches that offer them trainings in the art of Goebbels' propaganda. Actually, he also committed suicide, like his boss, Hitler. Everyone can make their own research of the dictatorial regimes and how they ended. That's why Almin's Russian office will never choose this self-destructive path. We stay faithful to Almin's original life mission. And one of our foundational principles are radical nonviolence that will remain with us forever. So I told my telecommunications friend from Russia that I have no reason to be afraid of being monitored by the Russian government or any other government or anyone else. My wife and I have apps in our iPhones that show us our locations, even if we are in different countries. I don't have secrets from my wife. I don't have secrets from my government. I don't have secrets from anyone. And it would be absolutely okay with me if technically it would be possible to install surveillance video cameras and microphones in my living spaces, my car, my workplace, wherever I am, into my head and my mind to listen to my thoughts, if it will ever be technically possible. And please watch me, watch me, watch my life. I'll be more than happy to share with you how I apply Almine's teachings on a daily basis and how they make me successful every moment of my life. And I'd be more than happy if you will take something for yourselves out of it. If you will use it as your shoulders to fly, and it will definitely bring the same results in your life. The truth of Almin's teaching is not a respecter of persons. If it works for me, it will definitely work for you and for everyone. I practice what I preach every nanosecond of my life. That's why I can be as self-confident as I am. There's no such thing that I can do that would make me feel afraid or feel ashamed before others. That's why the outer space works for me and not I work for it or fight it. Because I live according to Almin's foundational principle, as within, so without. There's no difference between within and without. There's no difference between my private life and my public life. No hidden motives, no hidden agendas. Absolutely agendaless living. And it truly feels really great every moment. For example, it would be a hypocrisy from my end if I would tell you, like, for example, if I would tell you to restrain yourself from TV and internet, and at the same time, I myself would spend all my time or a lot of my time in pointless internet browsing or watching TV. You can watch me through your imaginary surveillance technology and see that I live the teachings. My wife, my loved ones always know where I am. My phone always turned on and shows my location, living in the light of truth. Truth is not teachings by themselves. It's not just knowledge. Living in truth is to be truthful to ourselves and to others. Live in truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm sure that you heard Almin's expression, one life. For example, from Science of Immortality and Incorruptibility course. One life. So what is one life? One life versus double life. This is how it is. So, my dearest friends, much love to you all. Talk to you soon in 2 weeks. We will continue to explore the spark of creation, alchemical communications. Bye bye.